Hey everyone, welcome back to Shapr3D. So today we're going to be working on a long-awaited video. I titled it Construction, obviously. So disclaimer, I'm not a licensed contractor. Don't take my advice on how to build a house. Take my advice on how to draw a house in Shapr3D. So let's go ahead and start off with feet. I hope you took that disclaimer to heart. Let's go ahead and start with the top face. If you click here on the top, go to sketch mode. We're going to start with rectangle, and it's at the center. Let's actually start diagonal. All right, so what I want to do is start off with a 10 by 10. Actually, you know what, let's do center after all. So center, and then 10 by 10. That'll help us mirror stuff easier, right? So these are all one piece. You could either do that or sketch them individually by using the lines. Up to you. This way is a little bit faster sometimes. So now that we have this, concrete slabs are typically, well, first of all, they have rebar in them, and then the J hooks that go into them. I'm not going to be drawing those. We're going to be focusing on the framing aspect. So 4-inch slab. Let's go to inches here. 4-inch slab is typical, and that's going to be a separate part. That's going to be a foundation. But let's go back to feet. Actually, let's stay in inches. So what we need to start off by doing, obviously, is you know how on the bottom part we have the pressure treated lumber, obviously. So we go to offset face and make sure it's single. So as you know, they're typically called 2x4s, but they're actually not 2x4. They're actually 1.5 by 3.5. So make sure you do that when you're drawing so you can estimate everything correctly. But anyways, once we offset that edge, we have a lift off with 1.5 inches. Make sure it's a new body. All right. And what I want to do up front is separate one body from the other body. So what we can do is, this one is the foundation. It's going to be separate from the framing. We go here, click on this, click new folder, and then we go into the folder. So everything we do from now on will be made inside this folder. All right, not here, but inside this folder. Just FYI. So for example, if we make a copy and we go over here, see, I can't see over there, but as you can see, it goes into one folder. So just FYI, if you open the folder and you do that, it does that. All right, so let's continue on. We'll change the colors later for our reference, but for now, since we're smack in the middle, we can simply mirror this over. So more, mirror, and let's use this line there. So we got done. And then once we have both of those, we select both of them, click copy, rotate by 90 degrees. Then I should have kept them selected, but select them both, and then more, subtract from, make sure those two are blue, from this one and this one. Click done, and as you can see, we have now separate 2x4s as they need to be. Okay, just make sure. All right, once we have that complete here, we can move on to the next step. So we want, let's say, 10-foot ceilings. So what we can do, instead of having to sketch all the time, we could just copy one that we have already and just rotate this by 90 degrees. And then deselect copy and move it over here to this edge. Make sure you're aligned, because big tip, plan ahead. If you mess up in the beginning, it's going to cause you so much stress later. So just plan ahead, make sure you align everything as necessary right up front. Pay extra attention to those kinds of details. All right, so, and typically, all these 2x4s are 16 inches apart, spacing for the, for the plywood, for the sheetrock, which are typically 4x8 panels, sometimes 10 foot, sometimes 12. But spacing is 16 inches apart. So we're going to start with, I probably should turn this one, since this is that pressure treated one there. Let's go ahead and turn this and start with that wall there. So I want to turn it, not the perfect placement here, but let's just turn it by 90 degrees and then move it over here to this edge. Okay, so spacing, again, 16 inches. Let's go ahead and select this, click the pattern tool, and make sure you have spacing selected, not total distance. and you have to move it a little bit for it to start the process. So spacing, I want 16 inches, and for quantity, let's try 8 or 9. So yeah, 8 would work. And there's one wall. So also typically on the edge of these walls, you see this one, there's going to be another one on the other side. So we click copy, and we want to rotate this again by 90 degrees. We probably should have kept the other one there, but since we already did what we did, let's do some extra work and set it up here. So what I was saying is, typically here on the end, even though it has 16-inch spacing, you actually need to have 2. So let me just tell you the spacing. If you click between these two, you're going to have 14.5 inches because the spacing is in the middle, right? So approximately 16. That's how it works. But anyways, for this one, we need to copy it and make it to have 2 here. That way it lines up there. And then you're also going to need, let me get back to you on that. All right, so once we have that wall, we can move on to the next one. So again, 16-inch spacing. We'll go to the pattern tool again. And I like to move it, even though it was already kind of in a straight line. I like to move it just to make sure. And spacing is 6 inches. We had 8 last time. It worked really well. So as you can see, we have there those. And then in these kinds of cases, so we have to make sure. Well, let's do the translate tool this time. So more and translate, and we want to go from this edge to this edge, and then make sure copy is on, and click done. And as you can see here, we have an issue here where either I selected wrong or it did something wrong, but let's go ahead and redo that. Transform, translate, double click that, go from this edge to this edge, click done. All right, so very important. Imagine if you kept that on and then you copied those over, all of those would be misaligned, and then you would come back and you'd be like, oh crap, what do I do now? Right, so that's a lot of extra work. But I'm not sure actually if this is fine or not. Don't take my word for it. I'm just drawing it in CAD and showing you how to do that. So you figure that on your own. But I know that we need to put one more here. It's 1.5. We have exactly space for one more, which is great. So we copy it, move it over by 1.5. So as you can see on this side, it ends up being 3 instead of 2. So I guess it's going to be a sturdier wall. Anyways, let's go ahead and, again, use the copy function. Let's go over here to this edge and rotate it by 90 degrees. Make sure you have copy on, like I said. And we have now this wall. And technically speaking, we could just go from wall to wall, from this side to that side, copy this side over to this one. But since we have this one spaced a little bit different, we can go ahead and just go pattern, then spacing 16, quantity 8, click done. How much space do we have? Do we have 3 inches? Okay, so we can copy this over twice. Copy by 1.5 inches, and then copy by 3 inches. Okay, and then let's do, well, in this case, actually, we can just select these. So double click them to select the whole thing. And we can more mirror this way. So that helps us do work faster. Although I'm seeing here a weird situation. Let's see, why is it like so? Okay, it was inside there. Okay, so instead of moving everything over, or should we? Let's see, how far apart are these? 0.5 inches. All right, so instead of redoing it, I'll just go ahead and move everything by 0.5 inches. So, I mean, you have to adjust as you go, obviously. But when you can mirror something, that obviously saves you a lot of time. So, in this case, though, let's just move it by 0.5 inches. And that fixes our situation. Let's see, what do we have here? We have another 3 inches, which is great. Copy by 1.5, copy by another 1.5, which totals 3. Now we have just this situation where we need to, let's use the align tool this time. So transform, align, let's select this one, select this edge to this edge, and then we just need to move the pivot point so we can see better to make sure we do it correctly. Let's just move it over to align it to that edge. Click. And the problem is here, I didn't have copy on. So let's actually transform. And when you're doing a line, as you can see, it doesn't actually even give us the copy function. So what we can do here is rather either copy it over like so and then align it, or translate. So, I mean, up to you. Transform, translate. In this case, it might even be simpler. So let's go from this edge to this edge. Now let's try to double check our edges this time to make sure that it aligns properly. And I believe it did. So there we go. And as you can see, it's pretty high up. And if we're trying to make 10-foot ceilings, this is probably too high. So from the floor to the thing, the Z height down here is 114 inches. And in feet, it's 9.54. So actually, that's even lower. Let's see. So another thing we have to do is when we're going up here, we need to have additional 2x4s. They don't have to be pressure treated this time as far as I'm aware. So let's just copy it over. Let's raise this by 10 feet and then double check. So from the bottom to the top, it should be 10 feet. It's 10.125, so we need to lower that by 0.125. Then double check again, Z height 10 feet. Cool. Now we have to copy this. And there's multiple ways of copying it, but I just like to select and then go down by 1.5, or let's go inches to make sure. And we need to rotate this. So deselect copy, but rotate by 90 degrees. And that needs to happen because you have to make sure that these are not on the same place. Otherwise, there's no structural integrity. Okay, so you have to make sure it's strong. And now we have a little bit of a problem where we have to replace all of these faces because I didn't plan ahead with the 10 feet. So what we can do is select all of these faces. Sadly, I'm sorry. I probably should have planned ahead with that. But we now need to select all of these faces and replace this face to the bottom of those 2x4s for the roof. And I wish there was an easier way to do this. And technically there is. I'll show you after I'm done because I'm already almost done. But I will show you. That way you have a learning experience. So you walk away not hating me for this egregious waste of time here. But it's okay. It's actually pretty fun to do it sometimes. Like, usually, if you're in a hurry, it sucks. But like, if you have some time, like I have some time right now, it's not too bad. So more, replace face. Actually, replace face is up there, probably. So replace face. Then you have to look for the odd one out because it likes to select sometimes the wrong one. But it looks like it all selected correctly. So you might sometimes select a bunch and then one will be purple. You have to make sure you find it first. And then you click your selection face. So as you can see there, everything seems to work properly. Click done. And we have everything matching. Let's see. This to the floor. 120 inches is 10 feet. Perfect. All right. So let me show you the trick I mentioned. We have to hide these real quick so that I can show you. So let's just select any random edge on these bodies so that I can go here and hide them. And obviously it would be easier to group them in a folder. But just for this purpose here, it's fine. So to select all the edges really fast, I hid them for a reason. If you go here, obviously if you do this, or if you do this, if you look here, there's a menu. It shows you on the top here what it does. But if you select this way, it only selects the edges, as you can see. So this would be the really fast way to do that. And that's what I should have done in the beginning, but now you know. So learning experience. Let's go ahead and unhide what we hid. Make sure they're all there, so we don't have to mess up later. There's one missing. Let's see, where is it? There it is. All right. So now we have our little cage, right? And let's say we want to add a door and a window. What do we do with this? Well, let's say we have those three there. That seems like a good spot for a door. So let's go ahead and put an 8-foot door in. We can start off by sketching on this wall. So from the bottom to the top, I want, let's put it to feet to make our counting easier, because when I'm tired, my math does not compute. So we're just going to make our lives easier. And let's make this door 4 feet, because I'm a big guy. That's probably too big. Let's make it, let's make it 42 inches. So 36 plus 6 is 42, right? So that's basically 3.5 feet, because 4 seems like way too big. So let's do that. And we also actually probably should move this sketch over. So move by 1.5 inches so that we can have a 2x4 in there, because we need to have a supporting 2x4 for the beam. Okay, so we have this right here. Let's actually add a line there so it doesn't go up all the way. There we go. Now we extrude that by 3.5 inches, and we have our 2x4 for the beam support. And technically we can move this over, or if you want to be easier on yourself, just draw a line right here. Doesn't matter the distance, as long as you can use it. And then select it, more, and it should be mirror somewhere, but I only selected the face. Let's double click that. More, mirror, using that little line that we just drew. All right, and then what we can do is go in here, and beams are usually 12 inches, or rather they're called 12, so it's like 2x12 whatever, or 4x12. It's actually 11.5, just like, you know, the 2x4. So what we need to do is extrude this face by 11.5 inches. Make sure it's a new body. Click done, and then tools, replace face. Because this is a beam, we need to go all the way over here. And look at that, we have a little beam there. So next we need to tools subtract from these 2x4s, this beam. So we get left over those support bars here, and we have our beam in place. So as you can see here, we have room for one more 2x4. Let's see if there's, oh, there's exactly 1.5. Look at that, it's like I planned it. Let's go ahead and copy this one over, because we need to keep them all at 16 inches, right? So we need to keep it as original as possible, and then we need to add them when necessary. So 1.5 inches, and that worked out perfectly. And we're just missing this little support part here. So 3.5, and then we can add one more here. So let's go ahead and transform, translate, so we can copy this over from this edge to this edge, and then make sure you have your edges correctly aligned. Copy should be on. Click done, and just double check to make sure it's aligned. There we go. And now we have the frame for the door, and then we just need to subtract these two, because they would be in the way if you're trying to get in the house or the room, right? So let's remove these extras. Another thing also is that we need to get rid of this, because there's actually the bottom part of the door. And if you guys need, I can make another video of how to draw the door and how to make the window, but in this case I'm just doing the framing. So let's go ahead and tools, split body. We're going to select this body, and we need to split it right here and right here. Well, I guess it's only letting us select it once. All right, let's click done, and then let's do it one more time. So tools, split body, the same body with that edge there, and then get rid of this thing. Now we have our door and the little piece of 2x4 down there, but it'll be fine. It's pressure treated. It's used to pressure. Let's see. So once we have that, we just need the window, and we can sketch on that same face there. And windows are typically 3 feet off the ground, so let's go offset, and we're going to select that line right there, and then 36 inches is 3 feet. And let's see, we want to find the center. So well, I memorized where that line is, so I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to start here and go all the way to this 2x4, and I want to go from the center, so I'm going to go ahead and just choose center and go up. Oh, I guess it deselected. I'm going to go up. Let's see, I want the window to be 5 feet. Let's go to feet. So I'm going to make it 5 feet wide. Actually, let's make it 4 feet wide, and we want 5 feet high. So let's make this 10 total. I know it goes down by 5 feet and up by 5 feet. So let's say this line is 5 feet and this line is 5 feet. So basically I just doubled it to make it easier myself, because I chose the center, right? So we can just go ahead, and if you absolutely want, you can go ahead and trim these so that they don't confuse you. But basically we have our window, right? And we need to build the frame for it, and we can do that by offsetting, loop, and apparently we need to hide the rest. So isolate your sketch, then offset loop, and we can do by 1.5, and not feet but inches, sorry guys, 1.5 inches, and then we can split it like so. So as you can see, it's 1.5 inches. Then we turn isolate off, and we can extrude these two by 3.5 inches. Then we can hide the sketches, because they will be in the way as we're working. So what we can do up front here, let's see, actually let me unhide those sketches real quick, and yeah, there we go. Okay, so what we can do up front is make sure you have copy on. You go to this little part here, rotate it by 90 degrees, deselect copy, move it over by 1.5 there, and then 1.5 down, and then copy again and 1.5 down again, and move these over. So let's actually replace face. They keep moving it for me, but anyways, replace face with that face. Let's make that the purple one, the target face. And then for this one, same thing here, tools, replace face, this one and this one, make sure they're both set to blue, and then move it to this one, because they need to be there, and these two, they need to be on the bottom. So let's select that face and this face, make sure there's the target face is purple. Okay, we got that. And then we need the beam. So tools, again, extrude. We need to go up by 11.5. Make sure it's a new body. Click done. And then tools, replace face. This one with this one, because it needs to be supported there. Okay, and then also, even though it's supported, you need to have an additional one on each side, and then replace the face here with this one. Okay, because that needs to hold the beam in place as well. So copy it over by 1.5, and then replace face more. I keep forgetting it should be up there, although they moved it 2 more this time. So as you can see why I struggle with that. So it's easier sometimes to just even forget the more menu and go to tools, replace face up front. Okay, so now we go to tools, subtract from this body, the beam. Click done. That gets rid of all those extras that we don't need there. And then we can also do it again on the bottom. So tools, subtract. Let's go inside here so the sketcher is not in the way. These are the targets face we want subtracted, and then this one is the one we want to use as the subtract. Okay, click delete on those, and now we can hide the sketch. We can actually delete it. We don't need it at this point. And if we go out of this folder, remember everything's done in this folder, just like I said in the beginning. And we can call this lumber. Okay. And we can select all of this and now go to visualize, change this to a wood. Douglas fir, where's Douglas fir? Let's see. Birch, cherry, cork, Douglas fir board. There we go. So this is basically as realistic as it's going to get in that sense. So we have our framing complete, and then for this, we can change this to stone, rough concrete. All right, go back to modeling, and as you can see, we have our framing done, right? But I'm going to go a step further, and actually, framing is not done. We have to make sure we have these copied over to the edges, just for perfection, right? There we go. That looks better, and it's sturdier. So I'm not going to do the roof this time, but I will show you how to do the plywood and the sheetrock. So the plywood and the sheetrock, they're basically the same. The only difference is that there's different widths. So, for example, it could be a 1/2 inch, could be 5/8, could be quarter, 3/4. So that depends. But I'm going to do 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and go on the inside wall here. And also another thing is, if you have a spot like this where your sheetrock cannot attach to anything here, you need to add another 2x4. So we have this one. Let's copy it over, and I'll show you why in a sec. But let's copy this over by 1.5, and as you can see now, we can attach something to this, right? So if we go and use this wall, let's turn on section view. It's also, I believe, 1/2 inch off the floor. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it is. So tools, offset single. Let's do 0.5 off the floor. And then let's sketch. Let's actually trim that piece so it's not in the way. And now let's sketch up by, so 4 feet is what we need. It's 48 inches if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, 4 feet. And we need it to go the other way. And it's glitching. All right, so why don't we just do it this way? Redo that. Sometimes it doesn't like to go back and forth. And then I want to isolate the sketch. Delete that extra one. And let's just go ahead and finish this off. And then you can use this as a reference. You see it created that purple line for me. That way I can do it this way. And from this point, I want to extrude that out by 1/2 inch, and it didn't contact anything because the isolate was on. So we turn it off, turn off section view, and that's 1/2 foot. We need 1/2 inch, so 0.5 of an inch, and it's kind of cutting into there. So tools, subtract from this body, and that kind of evens up our sheetrock. So let's go ahead and make this white. All materials, stone. Well, stone. They don't really have gypsum here. I I don't know if that's considered. Let's see, Douglas for. They don't have it, so let's actually just make it. Why don't we make it just a something? I'll just make it white for reference. So change. Well, actually, I see something there that's weird. I see it didn't subtract there. Let me go fix that first. So tools, subtract from this thing, it didn't before, right? So let's make this just a regular white default material, properties white, and this will be our sheetrock or gypsum board, whatever you want to call it. So go back to modeling, and what we can do is just transform mirror from this one to this one, and then the same thing here, transform mirror, double click it to make your life easier. And now we go to tools, replace face, this one with the top here, but also lower it. So 23.5, we need 23, because what we're going to do is go ahead and copy this. Make sure you put it in the right place though. Use this as the rotating point, and by 90 degrees, and then make sure it's there, because the ceiling actually has held up by this partially. So there's the framing that you screw it into, and also the side walls hold up the top. So let's make this 48 inches because it's a 4-foot panel. And again, transform mirror, and then here on the side. Well, technically, to make it perfect, what I want to do is, let's see, how far is this from this? This is 17 inches. Let's move this over by 17. Well, actually, not copy. Let's move this over by 17 inches. And then tools, extrude this to here as a new body. Probably should have changed that color. Okay, and I think that's better than having it on the corner there. That's going to be a sturdier build, right? All right, once we have the roof, we can go ahead and select these by double clicking them, and then go to more, mirror, and use that center that we already had there. Click done, and then let's verify that everything is proper. And we can do that pretty easily by going to visualization and changing the default material to transparent. And we can just double check that everything lines up. It seems to be the case. So once we have everything in place, we can go ahead and work on the back. So what we can do is simply select all of these, and we'll keep them transparent for now. But let's select these and put it on the edge. Oh, I forgot we have to use an open door. Put it on the edge here, click copy, and then rotate this by 90 degrees. And deselect, and let's see what we have here. So we have a weird alignment issue here. Not sure what's going on, but for some reason these do not match up. So let's undo real quick, and let's see. We have a height of 1/2 inch there, and a height of 1/2 inch there. So I'm not sure what's going on there when we rotate it, but apparently I'm choosing something wrong for it to rotate it wrong. But in that case, we can just go ahead and let's isolate these. And I'm going to show you another way to do it. So isolate on, and then tools, offset. Make sure you have single edge on, and we want to isolate, or rather not isolate, but offset these by 1/2 inch. And then we want to extrude them. So make sure you select opposing sides, because if you select all 3 of them, it's going to be connected at one point. So let's go ahead and new body. And for whatever reason, Shapr is being glitchy. It's not supposed to extrude all that. So this is supposed to be 1/2 inch. I don't know what's going on there, but I've been running into this glitch where it keeps doing that. So it's being odd for me. How about if we do just the one? See, that's just weird. It should not be doing that. Tools, extrude. That's weird. How about if I restart the app? Yeah, it should not be doing that. So that's obviously a glitch. So you're gonna have to excuse that. Let's go ahead and rotate these after all. So so deselect, because for some reason it's being really weird. Now I can't even double click from that side for some reason. Okay, let's go ahead and move the pivot point to this point and copy and rotate them over by 90 degrees. And let's verify that everything lines up correctly, unlike last time for whatever reason. So yeah, it does. So what we have to do now is just tools, subtract from these, not this one, these 3. We need to subtract, again, we have to go through the open door. And let's see, technically, I guess these 3 panels and probably the wood behind as well, just in case. So this, and let's just select that as well, just in case. There we go, that piece is cut out. Then this piece, just to make sure we have all our angles covered. And that should be it. So done. And now we have the interior pretty much done except for the front. And we can finish that by simply transform and mirror. And like I said before, it's probably better if you actually select them first and then go to more and mirror. That way it doesn't have to think as hard. Select that one there in the front. The red line here was I believe it's the X plane or the Y plane, I'm not sure. Doesn't really say over here. What it says over there on the top here. So see, you can see the red one is the X, the green one is the Y, and then the blue one is the Z. So Z. And to cut out our windows, what I typically would do is, let's actually go back and make our sheetrock actually white 100% again. So what I usually do is I would project these edges as edges onto this body, but because we have this edge that goes all the way down, it's going to leave the extra edge on that body, and we don't want that. So in this case, we can just go to Tools, Project, and we're going to use Sketches. So select the edges that you want to cut through with, but instead of using edges, we're going to use Sketches. So select those as purple. And then since we're also going to be doing the door as well, we can select the door frame as well. So we can just do those sketches at the same time. Okay. And then make sure you select those little pieces on the bottom too, since it goes all the way to the bottom. Then click done. After make sure it's sketches, like I said. Click done. And then we use that sketch to run through or extrude the open places. So now we have that out, and if we go inside here, we can see we have our sheetrock in place, and it's cut out properly. And technically, usually you would leave like a little gap there for the window and for the door and stuff. Obviously we're in CAD, so it's perfect, but we have our sheetrock done. And then if you want to be a perfectionist, we can go in and even draw the foam. So I'm not going to bother with the cardboard side, but let's say if we go to tools and extrude and select this bottom edge, extrude all the way up to, let's see how much is, there we go, by 115.5 as a new body. Click done, and then we can change this color to, let's see, what's a foam color, typically like something like this. And then go back and tools, subtract from this one, and we can technically, if we take this out, so actually here, let me show you a little trick. So if we have this body here, we want to take it out of the lumber folder. Where is the folder? So, okay, so I put those all in there because that's sheetrock. Okay, let's do that first. So let's select all the sheetrock. New folder. That's going to be sheetrock. All right, now we go to select this body, more, subtract from the lumber, click done. Now we have these individual pieces of foam, right? So this is like, if you want to be extremely perfectionist in your CAD drawings, like from inside out. But I don't really think we need this, so I'm just going to do this one wall, and that's it. But let's make that into a folder and call it foam. So you can finish the rest on your time. For this tutorial, I think it's already pretty long. But the finishing touches, obviously, is if we go here, and what we can do instead of drawing in there and making it complex, we could just simply do it over here. So for example, 8 feet by 4 feet panel, and then go back to inches, extrude that by 0.5. And I'm showing you this now and not before, because before I was teaching you how to do other things. So transform, translate, select this whole body, select the inside edge, and right now it's just push that line through, but make sure you have that edge selected, and then go over here and select that edge there, click done, and we actually have to do an overlay. So one side is going to have half an inch over across there. So let's go ahead and up front change this to our wood OSB board. Where did it go? There we go. OSB. So we can differentiate, and basically we can transform mirror to this side, and then tools, replace face from this one to this wall. Okay, and then basically for these, you can't have them lined up at the same place, so what you need to do is revolve and copy, turn off copy, and go up by 48 inches, and then we want to copy this again up there, and tools, replace face, select both of these, and use this as a target face. So there's one wall of OSB for you, and I think you can do the rest. But this is basically inside and out construction. And yeah, there's a lot to learn. Obviously, there's a lot you can do, but I got through the most important parts, I think, and everything I left out is because I think you can continue on your own. And for the roof, obviously, depending on which kind of room it is and how many degrees you want. So let's say this is the center, right? Let's just go up by, let's say, 48 inches. What we can do here is, if we draw a line from the edge to, let's say, over here to the center, then we go and select the move tool and select this line, go back to this edge, and it selected the edge, not the line. So let's we need the line, so let's actually isolate the sketch to make our life easier. So it made obviously a couple extra sketches there because it was already on a body. So anyways, now that we have that, we select the move tool, move this axis, click copy, and then, for example, I believe the minimum is 21 degrees for the roof, but more is better, I suppose. So let's do, why don't we do 30 degrees? Okay, then we deselect, let's turn the isolate off, go back to this sketch plane by double clicking it, and then just go and follow the purple line to here. And so we have, let's do 1.5 inches because we need a 2x4, and we need to extrude that by 3.5, and obviously we didn't do it in the middle, so we need to move it over. So we need to do 0.75, which is half of 1.5. Now it's in the middle there, and now we can put our center one. So extrude by 1.5 as a new body. Well, 3.5. And then tools, replace face. This one with this one just as an example. And then you obviously have to have that, well, let's make it easier and just sketch it instead of having to rotate. So offset single by 1.5 or 3.5. I keep messing those up now. And click done. Let's sketch that there. And make sure to continue that all the way. And we can sketch a line like so. Then extrude that by 1.5. And we need to lower that, as you can see, just a tad, or lift it up. So let's see, this one's right there on the edge. We technically can't really lower that. We actually even have to lift it up because you do need still the support structures here. So this is going to have another 2x4 here, and then like another one there. So that's up to you. I don't really know how to do that exactly, so I'm not going to show you, but I showed you how to do the most of what you need to know. So everything else, I would say follow the plan if you have a plan that you need to do, or if you don't have a plan and you're doing this from scratch, if you're a contractor, I think I've shown enough to where you can manage it on your own. But in this case, for example, we have this edge and this face, it's 0.1084, so just go ahead and select this and move it by 0.1084, or you can use the translate or line feature depending on what you want. So, and then for this, just tools, replace face, like so. And then you can use the pattern tool for this one with the spacing feature as well. So I believe these are 24 or 36 inches. I am not exactly sure. So this is basically how you would design inside of CAD a house, a room, or a shed, etc. I think from this project you would be able to do many projects, but you have the basis now. So anyways, I hope you learned something. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This was pretty long, but I think it was a good learning experience. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Yeah, I'll see you
Here
guys
at
in the next
Shapr3D,
one. Bye-bye.
our goal is to inspire and empower you to create your own amazing projects. Please support our work so that we can keep doing it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to see more.